Good morning, everyone. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. You have all been my mother. For the Chinese translation, it is FM 89. Kempo Samduk Rinpoche Study Group is now called Garchen Meditation Center in honor of His Eminence Garchen Rinpoche. We are so thankful to Rinpoche for traveling to Vancouver and turning the wheel of Dharma and sharing his love and giving us a perfect example of how we should move through the world. Thank you, Rinpoche. If you would like to join our developing Sangha, please email us or sign up at the sales table. We have had several requests for the Tonka images behind the throne where Rinpoche is. If you would like to purchase, we have an order sheet at the back of the sales table. Medicine Buddha is already sold, but more can be ordered and should be in by next Saturday when Kempo leads us in a walking meditation around Fraser View Park. Around Fraser View Golf Course, and he will also lead us in Green Terra and Medicine Buddha practice. Please email garchen2017@gmail.com to register or for details. You can phone me, but give me a day after the retreat, please. We still have rose and candle offerings that can be given to our Great Mother Tara today. They are $10. Our sales table will close after lunch. If you wish to make any purchases, please complete them by 1:30. Please do not go into the washrooms or the lounge area downstairs or the kitchen. We have not rented these areas and will incur extra charges if you do. Please turn off your cell phone and enjoy the teachings. Thank you, Rinpoche, for your love and sharing the essential teachings of the Buddha. We are so grateful.
Today is Mother's Day, 很特殊的一天。那祝大家这边女士很多，祝大家母亲节愉快。 Mandu 的禅修小组，那么现在呢，在Garchen Rinpoche的指导下，已经开始禅修有一段时间了。我们很感谢Garchen Rinpoche给我们加持。那么在Garchen Rinpoche的加持和他的教法的指引之下，我们现在在这个禅修小组开始有很多共修的机会。那共修呢，不但是修法，而且分享Garchen Rinpoche对我们大家的这个大爱吧。Garchen Rinpoche给我们修法的这些道友们很多怎么样为人处事的一些指导。我们非常感谢Garchen Rinpoche再次莅临温哥华来给我们传法。如果哪些道友希望参加我们的禅修活动，这个禅修主要是目前是英文的，但是我们可以组织中文的法本。如果有中文的道友们，我们可以组织中文的法本。我们在后边的那个登记台上有一个联系的目录，如果您希望参加禅修小组的话，可以今天登记，把您的名字和联系方式写上，然后我们通知您活动的时间。有一些道友想请这边的唐卡，这次传法当中有药师佛灌顶，今天有杜母的灌顶，下午有杜母的灌顶。如果大家想请唐卡，这个唐卡是就是这个就是目前就是药师佛还有绿度母，然后后边有一些样本，大家休息的时候可过来看一下。如果想预定的话，可以提前交费，然后这个收到唐卡之后，我们会跟您联系的，您可以来中心来取。同时想跟大家通知一下，下周6的时候，我们会有一个禅修的活动，可能有的一些道友已经收到电子邮件了，那就是5月18号的时候，我们会做绿度母和药师佛的禅修共修。那如果您希望参加这个活动的话，也可以给我们留下联系方式，会提前通知您，再确认一下。如果哪些道友想献给仁波切鲜花和灯烛的话，还有机会。那这个加在一起是灯烛和鲜花加在一起是10元，可以加在一起。今天是我们法会的最后一天，因为我们租用的场地到。今天我们在6点钟之前要离开这个法会的场地，所以大家要配合一下。如果需要购买任何法本或是礼物的话，请在中午的时间跟我们联系，到后边来购物。我们1点半钟就会把后边的法本等等就收起来了，所以如果想购物的话，请提前1点半之前购买。最后提醒大家一下，昨天 Marilyn 已经讲过，因为楼下的有一些休息室，还有一个很小的 kitchenette， 那个不是我们租用的，所以这个 Healer House 的 工作人员告诉我们，请不要使用那个地方，提醒大家一下。那么如果需要用餐或者休息的话，走到这个 Hill House 对面，就是 UBC 的 Student Union 学生会，那里边地方很大，希望大家到那边去休息就餐。最后再提醒您一下，如果可以的话，把您的手机关掉。好，祝大家，今天法会非常充满法喜。再次感谢Garchen Rinpoche给我们带来这么多的加持和非常深广的法教。Garchen Rinpoche有如我们的佛祖一样，那么我们这次很荣幸能请到Garchen Rinpoche和 Temple 的加持，非常感谢，祝大家今天听法愉快。
Thank you, Echo, for translating my very sloppy notes with probably bad spelling.
It's all good.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We're going to opening prayers, page 3. All mothers and beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstacles who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and damnation, may they experience happiness, be separate from suffering, and save the way established them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Buddhahood. All mothers and beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstacles who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and damnation, may they experience happiness, be separate from suffering, and save the way established them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Buddhahood. Dalai Dhamma Sivera, Gopal Sivege, Tarvana Namje Jimbe Bharata, Chubara Siva Tamje Jeso Seve, Mahanga Danyame Sinje Namje Dewa Dande, achieve enlightenment, and perform virtuous deeds with the body, speech, and mind. Until death, and perform virtuous deeds with the body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, and perform virtuous deeds with the body, speech, and mind. Next page, page 4. We take refuge in the kind Rule Lama and the lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deity of the mandalas of the Yadams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Nagas, darkness, and the Dhamma gardens, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Page 5. Until I attain the height of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, in the likewise in the example of the Bodhisattvas. As the purest Buddhas embrace the enlightened mind, and the progress on the Bodhisattva's path are true for the benefit of all sentient beings, giving birth to bodhicitta, and applying myself to complete stage of the path. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all other sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be suffering from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all Mother Sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never be suffering from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. My Nangada Nyambe Semje Namje Devada Devajada Devaju Je Dumara Dumaju Juda Tavaju Je Dumara Bebe Devada Devaju Je Yere Jada Yedan Jare Anyola Devaju Je. So now we are going to page 11, short mandala offering. The ground is sprinkling with the scented water and is filled with flowers. It is adorned with meadow, the spirit mountain, the four continents, and the sun and the moon. As Buddha feel are offered it, may all sentient beings attain the happiness as Buddha feels. To the lamas who possess the three kayas, I offer the order, inner, and the secret offerings. With my body, wealth, and all that is visible, please grant me the supreme realization in my kingdom. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostrations, offerings, confessions, rejoicing, beseeching, and prayer, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. To go back to Tibetan.
First, I would like to say thank you to all my Dharma friends who came here today to listen to the Dharma. Because wherever you go, actually the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, is a time that you consider very important. And so you came during this important time to listen to the Dharma. And so personally, I also know that the Saturday and Sunday, the weekend, is an important time because when I was in prison, every day we had to work really hard, except for the weekend when we had off. And on the weekends, it was like the Pure Land, like they were checked. We didn't have to do anything. And it's similar anywhere else too. You have to work, and then on the weekends, on Saturday and Sunday, you have off, but you still take the time to come here to listen to the Dharma. Because you consider that very important. And so then, now coming here considering this very important, then I also have to be careful when it comes to teaching you the Dharma. You know, when I know that you come here on important days like that, then me as a Dharma teacher, if I'm not able to really explain the Dharma to you properly and in a meaningful way, then that's a really very big mistake, a really huge mistake on my side. So you hear the Dharma, and then you understand the meaning of those words, and you think about them, and then if it really benefits you, then I really have accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, and then there is no fault on my side. So I want to make sure that this also is accomplished. And actually, if only one thing is accomplished, if you, for example, if I'm able to introduce you to the actual causes of happiness, just that actually, just knowing that is an incredible merit actually. And then also if I know that through these teachings, I'm able to not just benefit you in this life, but in our future lifetimes, then the benefit is even greater. So then when you listen to the teachings and you also actually engage in practice, then that really opens up the doors to liberation in all future lifetimes. So if all of that is accomplished properly from the side of the teacher and the side of the student who listens, then the result, fruition coming from that is really incredible. And it is that this is what accomplishes the benefit of others and oneself. Bodhicitta is one's own greatest benefit, and it is the happiness of others. So actually the accomplishment of the twofold purpose of others and oneself is one and the same. They are not separate. They are not two separate purposes. And so in any case, again, so thank you so much for coming on a Saturday and Sunday on a weekend for the teachings. Knowing that this is a very important time, I'm also very careful to make best use of this time, because I'm actually always very mindful of this time, because that's an important time and I don't want that this time goes to waste.
많이 소속부터 이 소리 있다만이 저거리 능력적인 소속들 두거리 무슨 참아 두고 공소나 이 대라들이 더자가 생기라 더지 사지 라바게 시실 롱띠나 람띠나 그때 그다 잡도 가고 와서때 차로도 시절에 상계의 양자들이 생긴 동생이 양로보다 조금 양종무요래 제과자고 요래 대회들이 지금 막 주고는 영치고 사기 새끼 니가 아마다 그래 천당도라는 샌들이 선봉만이 나갔다 그랬지.
Today I'm going to give an introduction to Tara. And actually, this morning I was also told that today is Mother's Day. And that's a very auspicious coincidence, actually, that Tara introduction falls on Mother's Day. And so, according to the Buddhist tradition, the mother is considered as very important, very precious. We speak about all mother sentient beings. And first, when we begin to remember the kindness of others, we first remember the kindness of our mothers. And so then, from the ultimate perspective, Tara, from the ultimate perspective, is said to be an embodiment of the three kayas. Tara is a Buddha, and in her Dharmakaya essence is the great mother, the Dharmakaya mother. And the Dharmakaya refers to one's Buddha nature. It is the pure natural state that is unobscured by dualistic grasping. The mind itself is referred to as the Dharmakaya, or the Great Mother. And then the Sambhogakaya appears in various different ways. For example, in Tara's case, as Vajrayogini. And then within the Vajrayogini sadhana, it also mentions that all the classes of Dakinis, of goddesses, all are Sambhogakaya manifestations of the Dharmakaya Great Mother. So, Vajrayogini and so forth. And then the Nirmanakaya form is Tara. So the Dharmakaya is like space, and the Sambhogakaya appears like a rainbow in the sky, or just like in this picture here on Rinpoche's table. And then the Nirmanakaya form appears, for example, in this human world as a human being, temporarily, just like an illusion. And then you might think that there are many different kinds of Nirmanakayas, and they are all a little separate or different from us. But that's not the case. They're not separate Nirmanakayas. Chichen Sungha had said, within each of the three kayas, the other two kayas are contained, complete. So they are all actually one. There's not one separate Nirmanakaya. For example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is an actual manifestation of Chenrezig. And when we say that that's a Nirmanakaya form, the Dharmakaya form would be, for example, Vajradhara. The Sambhogakaya form Chenrezig, and the Nirmanakaya, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, for example. So the mind is still not separate from all the Buddhas, which is the Dharmakaya. The mind is a mind of great love and compassion. And with great love and compassion, his speech teaches in various different ways, turning the wheel of Dharma extensively. So the speech is said to be the Sambhogakaya. So the form, the body is Nirmanakaya. His body is the Nirmanakaya. His speech is the Sambhogakaya, and his mind is the Dharmakaya. And therefore, he also is the very embodiment of the three kayas, not a separate Nirmanakaya. And then actually moreover, all the sentient beings to be tamed, they are all Nirmanakayas too. It is said that the 6 classes of sentient beings, the 6 realms, they are all actually Nirmanakayas. So only temporarily, sentient beings appear as sentient beings, and impure perceptions, such as the sufferings of the 6 realms of samsara, manifests to them. And then we see the appearances of animals and hungry spirits and hell beings and so forth. And what they are is that they are actually Nirmanakayas too. Nirmanakaya in Tibetan means Durku, and so we can say that they are Durkus of the 3 poisons temporarily. For example, a hungry spirit is a Durku or Nirmanakaya of stinginess or greed. Or a hell being is a Durku or Nirmanakaya of hatred. And an animal is a Durku or Nirmanakaya of ignorance. So even though we say that they are Nirmanakayas of this or that is not what they really are. As this name Durku or Nirmanakaya implies, it's just an emanation. So it won't actually always remain that way. It's only temporary. So it is just like an ice block is freezing into an ice block one night, and then it melts again. So for as long as the karma lasts, there is this appearance, but when that karma comes to an end, the appearance disappears again, and it all doesn't really exist any longer. And meanwhile, Buddha nature remains as it is without ever having been spoiled. And finally, all those beings do possess the cause for awakening. They never separate from that. So just temporarily they appear that way. For example, once Milarepa was asked, whose Turku are you, or Nirmanakaya? And he said, I'm a Turku of the 3 lower realms, as a response. And in that sense, actually, we can say we all are Turkus, we all are Nirmanakayas, all sentient beings to be tamed. And then those who tame the Buddhas and the spiritual teachers and so on, they are the embodiment of the 3 kayas. And so the path all begins with, like yesterday, we take the refuge vow. That is when the ice block begins to melt. And then it goes on until we attain enlightenment. And then these kayas, these potentials are all ripening and become manifest. And then, having attained enlightenment, one then is able to truly act for the benefit of others and manifest even more Nirmanakayas and Sambhogakayas to benefit others, while always remaining inseparable from the Dharmakaya, which is the Great Mother. The Dharmakaya Great Mother is the mother of all Buddhas and of all sentient beings. And in essence, it is one's own mind. It is the empty, space-like essence of one's own mind.
오다 죽어 가면 요래지 대지는 니지요 말이지 대지는 생도 가서 상대 세계 발표를 하고 저도 처로로 자송 대도 대중기계를 맞아 생기 가하 통으로 말이야 마지막 백현을 이렇게 못 가지고 전체적으로 또 망도리 따뜻하 대다고 걔네들이 너무 뒤로 막 가고 이제 나팔이 오리 들었다 나팔 가리고 그랬다 그래서 내가 잡대요 그래서 뒤로 막 같이 보이 센데 사실 용지 가리 들어서 hingi 요리 hingi라도 이래서 hingi에서 돈이 가려 가가리를 찍게 되나 다 서설을 다 랑기 라고 마크 보러 지와나 지와그랑기 세그랑기 지와 세도 돈이 이게 가가리 소화돼 돼서 상민기들이라 처바도 당하니 지와 당하니 나보 카드르면 지와그랑기 동반이 차대요래 대다워지나 이 생문제들 포문이요 말이에요. 서서히는 들어드리는 것으로 다가 라포기 보니 걔네들 이제 좀 많이 다들이 사제 책임이 파마다를 해. 이는 사제가 파마다를 해. 사제 탐지가 파마다를 해. 들가에 사제 탐지 삼민지 속심벌에 나요 말이에요. 새끼 나요래 돼. 사제 탐지 파마다를 해. 사 탐지는 걔네들 이제 좀 많이 쏴치고 저거래. 내가 나그까 잡아들이 이제 지금이 잡대. 죽어 영지 못이 받으러 보원이 이거 말이 죽어 놈이 되게 영지 문제 거들 또봐 지가도 포 지가도 뭐 여기 너가 대로를 나무 거라 이거 말이야 싸버랑 생활하고 싸버랑 기대 약 또버랑 기대 연 대로 지었어 생활로 싸고나 가다가 이 시대 영다고 요래 주지 영대 이 시라 영당 이 시속 요소 아 되나요 그래지 내가 생사 동막고 다제도 잡아 대하거나 이렇게 뒤로만 뒤다니다라는 거예요.
And so now there's this supplication, this application to the 7 aspects of Tara that was composed by Lord Chikten Sungden, that you probably all have, this book, that also includes commentaries by Khepo Samdro, which is very precious. And so now first it says, in the unborn Dharma Dhatu abides the reverend mother and the deity Tara, and so forth. So where can we actually find Tara? Where is she really? She is within this unborn Dharma Dhatu, and what that is space. It is the space-like nature of the mind. The space expanse of Dharma Dhatu. And so, now when we look at the mind, we can't see anything there. And within our bodies, our bodies consist of the 5 elements. So in the body we have the 5 elements. That is the flesh and the bones and so on is the earth element, and the blood, the water element, and the body heat, the fire element, the breath, the wind element, and the consciousness, the mind is the space element. And that element of space that also pervades your body, that element of space, which is actually a consciousness, that is indivisible from outer space. There is no outer and inner actually. And that's the Dharma Dhatu, space, expanse. So when you really see the nature of your mind, you realize that this mind and the outer space are exactly the same. There's no delineation there. Just for the time being, sentient beings do not see that. But the true pure aspect of their mind is just that. That is Tara. And so in that sense, because she's this underlying basis of Dharma Dhatu. Tara is said to be the mother of all the Buddhas and all the sentient beings. And sentient beings all actually are the Buddha. They have the cause of Buddhahood. So Tara sees those sentient beings who have not realized that. Sentient beings who have not realized that are obscured by dualistic grasping. So their true nature, that is Tara, the Dharma Dhatu Tara, is obscured by dualistic grasping. So within the expanse of the Dharmakaya, Dharma Dhatu, there is no duality, and this is where she abides. And at all times, she knows that sentient beings have not realized that, and sentient beings are like ice blocks, and they see a separation when actually we are all one. And for that, Tara has immense compassion. So that is really the essence of this verse here, the unborn, the Dharma Dhatu, the space. So Tara that is where we find Tara. And also Chenrezig. Chenrezig is also, his nature is all pervasive. Just like in this image here actually, this round image, really representing Chenrezig's pervasive nature. And that is connected to Tara as well. Chenrezig's quality, for instance, is he's an embodiment of great compassion. Now when we think about that, emptiness and compassion, are they two separate things or are they one? Look at your own mind and consider, for example, the love between a mother and her child. That love that a mother has for her child. That love, the nature of that love is her mind. So the nature of that mind is love. They're not separate. They're not two separate things. You can clearly see that. And then sometimes temporarily, thoughts change, and then there is anger and attachment, which is also the mind. And then again it changes and it is love. But it is mind, and that mind is empty. So within that empty mind, in its natural state, there actually is no male and no female and so on. And yet the deities appear as male and female aspects, such as Chenrezig and Tara. And Chenrezig and Tara in general are considered to be the parents, the mother and the father of all the Buddhas and all the sentient beings, and especially of all the Buddhas, because all beings really are Buddhas. So this love of the Buddhas, of these Buddhas, is boundless, great love for all sentient beings. And in their mind there is no concept of a self whatsoever. Sentient beings possess a self. And so in any case, Chenrezig and Tara are considered to be the most precious deities. And their nature is all pervasive like space. And within the expanse of the Dharmakaya, there actually does not exist any division between male and female and so on. And which is actually why an image of the Great Mother is, her face actually is half male and half female. One side is male and the other side is female, to represent that. And in that context then, the clarity aspect of the mind is the male aspect, or the ya. And the emptiness aspect of the mind is the female, or the yum. And so together they are one, clarity and emptiness, which is a space-like expanse. And that is the nature of the Dharmakaya, Great Mother. So when you look at your mind without any thoughts, and you just see this clear empty nature in its natural state, and that is where you find Tara.
这种嘛这有的，这里养殖就是养殖种嘛是要差价的，都是实际上在两百个这里，种嘛因为有的老不习惯，这块儿这里，这里这里的干啥干的这里，实际可能点点嘛的，地方的干的这个都，是了这一种，这个是了这一种，大家看见都，这老的是光嘛这里这里，批发起步有的，长当波的别多大起步有的，本来这个地方呢就这种嘛，长期长期的吃来的，就什么长期会就吃来嘛，这怎么说呢？有的，就是什么长期的，长期的好朋友这个他的这种嘛，然后包括这有的，实际他们这在那个上网络长期生意了，或者刚来的那个地方的。中嘛个就不差忙不的那个个中嘛咱就他别忙不的啥样的，中嘛嘛多啥几十个有啥嘛的，啥几上这个真的中嘛真有的，这个那边了，这了实际过了这嘛的了，谁地方哪个地方什么地方要什么有的，谁地方多少都说了这里，当然的总结，当然了解这个啥法的理解，别人主管就管接触嘛，说就管接不接的这种，就让他老去，这可以，人就在这里，就如果让他接的这别人这多就管接触嘛，说这样，送过来，这长期种的这个亲家他接送过来，他就他把他这个老板也就送过来，这他当然这里就把就听说过叫对马上，这是吧？你那这里我单位就这种嘛，然后现在比较有了，南到少啊，就这种嘛，他们经常说会有的，现在这种嘛，这种的，他把什么事情都接把这个没，咱们人这里不讲计较了，我是这里这种嘛，讲我那个老钱的事，这看来就是这个的。头嘛人啥地种的这个干过来，包括今年这个忙不靠近这些干的都搞我了嘞，东老师不就搞我了，这了他这了，这今年的前两天就狂拍嘛，他们那国家好少干法的，这里都是今年这个开了，这边是叫老的这种嘛的，空气老钱的这种项目就开了嘛的，这让人不是我这得看起有的。他即使讲的，我的当我的就白，把这里打不起问题，但实际上做那啥子的不落去，忙不了的，他别的那边这种嘛搞的节奏，我是咱们说没个，我说统计有吧了，家国送这个我给这里，家长的把咱那第一章的做你把第一章。做的你第一章，啥了这里，打不起的问题，咱家也有吧，国家有吧，搞这里，叫我说这个我看什么的呢？哦，到底家长把咱那个做的嘛，你还不能从这地，咱们这个怕家去了做不过去，咱们这个吃了对吧？做不说，这是我们这个跑说不的呢，这说话难给咱们这个的。我这应该有嘛的，不然的，人家咱们这个没得管的，看人家说的，他不能得到的钱呢，人们说同去有吧，家长的把咱们是这种嘛，跟我们吧，这个是没了，这个两个钱的，这里带你走的哦，大家说这个我以前说的嘛的，人民就在这里包的了，然后去。来这那帮people这刚一东西忙不用了，刚一人做的，这讲的样子讲的，这他妈不叫我少了头搞的，这里叫我偷钱去吧，这里叫我拿完去不会，这里他不讲的，这不的，他当然把这里我这马上把这不的出去，因为这他不出口，他不讲，但嘛这啥子他们不门怎么办，门长。我出他们那种没怎么吧，每当董事忙不他就哪能吃嘛做不出话，看你们那老说话这样的，人家大家都不能咱们的， 자기가 대바다 뭐 주다를 정도게 잡으면 나다를 다도 요리 대답이 야답지 기밥에 살이 다다를 나를 맺히게 예를 들면 무엇이들이 이네들 공사지 찾아서 가서 왔다 더 주세요 가서 보러 가야 되더라 어떤 얘기네들 그래서 이렇게 뒤로 가니까 딱 양독들이 하고 속이요래 롱콩 많이 돌아 대기랬더니 저리 이식이 돼봤지 돈다요 단데 대세대 기본 뭐지 배워서 뭐래 동물애들이 롱이라고 세대기를 주더라 팽길이 동물애들이 진짜 전 무섭소 시골이 애들이 나를 대로 돈을 세줘가 인생
So then it says, so in the unborn, Dhammadhatu abides the Reverend Mother, the deity Tara. So the first line was in the Tibetan, in the unborn Dhammadhatu, and the second line is abides the Reverend Mother, the deity Tara. And so regarding this second line here, so we have said she abides there, as which is the Dharmakaya. Her Dharmakaya aspect abides within the Dharma Dhatu, where she is referred to as the Great Mother. And then in her Sambhogakaya form, she, for example, appears as Tara, or there's Sambhogakayas like Chenrezig that appear. For instance, in the prayer of Devachen, it says that from Amitabha's left hand, 100 million of secondary Tara emanations manifest. But in brief, what that means is that there appear as many Taras as there are sentient beings in the forms of Sambhogakayas as well as Nirmanakayas all over the world. And next it says, she bestows happiness on all sentient beings. So who is that bestows happiness? For example, how did it happen in the past and how does it happen now? It is very good to understand the historical background of a deity. And that is really implied here by these words. In the past, for example, it is said that Tara is the mother of enlightened activities of all the Buddhas. This is how she is referred to in a Tara supplication, for example. So she is the one who provided the method of enlightenment to all the Buddhas of the three times. Tara assisted them, and she's also helping all sentient beings. So in the past, it is said that there existed already, eons in the past, there existed hundreds and thousands of Tara Tantras. And actually, at that time, there was only Tara. There probably, in the early times, in terms of eons, there was no other deity practiced than Tara. Actually, there was this time where everyone would practice Tara. She was the only deity there. And so she was the one who then helped all Buddhas attain enlightenment and benefited sentient beings. And with regard to giving happiness, bestowing happiness on sentient beings now, this happiness has an outer, inner, and a secret aspect. The outer happiness here that she bestows refers to her appearing in the form of the sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara, in their individual, particular forms. And then in that form, she benefits them. So she bestows upon them happiness. She gives them love and compassion. For example, there is this prayer that says that Tara is the one who protects from the 6 kinds, or the 8 kinds and the 16 kinds of fear and so on. So she's the one who protects from all fear. And there's, for example, a story on how she protects from 8 kinds of fear. There's a story for each kind of fear. And then there's a supplication that summarizes those 8 kinds of fear into one supplication. And then the Buddha Shakyamuni also said that Tara has 108 names. And so here, this is a prayer by Thigden Sumgön, supplicating to the 7 aspects of Tara from the ultimate perspective, the Tara that is connected to your own mind. So this prayer here is speaking about the inner and the secret aspects of Tara. So regarding the historical background, for many aeons, she benefited sentient beings. And now, at this time of an age, she appeared in this world, for instance, in Tibet, in the form of, as an emanation of white and green Taras appeared in Tibet to benefit beings there. So how did that happen in this world? The Buddha Shakyamuni, when he was alive, gave a command to the Bodhisattva Chenrezig, and he said that in future times you must benefit, you must tame those beings living in this pure land of snow, Tibet. Actually, he also referred to them as like an isle of flesh eaters. And so he said, you have to go there and benefit beings there and take care of those people. And Chenrezig accepted the command, and at that time, the white and green Tara appeared, and they promised to assist Chenrezig in his activities there. And so how did that then come about in the future? That in the future, it says that first of all, the Tibetan race in itself comes from Chenrezig actually, and then in the middle, when the Dharma was propagated actually in Tibet later on, it was propagated by the famous Dharma kings of Tibet. There's many stories about them too, and Tara always appeared to support these Dharma kings who were spreading the Dharma in a form of humans. For example, the Dharma king Songtsen Gampo, he had 2 queens, one from China and one from Nepal, and they brought with them, those 2 queens brought with them 2 jewel statues, which were then installed in Lhasa in the temple. And that is now a place where they still are, and people can still come there, and one of them is there, and people can still come there and see the statue and circumambulate them. And actually that is also a significant point that many people don't know, but I've actually saw that in the old historical accounts. And there it says that the king Songtsen Gampo himself actually said, he made an aspiration, and he said that since the 2 queens brought these 2 jewel statues, and these two precious objects, he said that as a result of this interdependence, this auspicious interdependence, in future times, these Buddha representatives, these statues, these holy objects will not have to go anywhere, so the Dharma won't go out, but they will come here. So people will come to see them. And now that proves to be true, because actually now we can see Tibet really doesn't have anything, but it has those 2 holy objects. And nowadays people come from all over the world for a pilgrimage, and they come to see these holy objects, and they come to circumambulate them. So that still proves true in the present day, and King Songtsen Gampo had said that in the past. And so these 2 queens were emanations of white and green Tara, appearing in the human world to benefit beings there. And then, ever since the king Songtsen Gampo was the lineage of his appearance, then Chenrezig's appearance, interrupted. It was not. It continued on. So then, of course, gradually as time went by, Tibet also experienced a lot of hardships, a lot of misery, which is also the result of karma ripening. But then every time a misfortune fell upon Tibet, every time somehow there was some kind of protection, and Tara came to protect. So then the Dharma kings of Tibet in the old days were all these emanations of Chenrezig, and then later with the 5th Dalai Lama onwards, then the Dalai Lamas then were really taking care of Tibet in the form of being emanations of Chenrezig, and then cared for Tibet in a religious sense and also in a secular, mundane sense. And actually, without that, without the succession of the Dalai Lamas, emanations of Chenrezig again and again appearing to do that, without them, really, there would not even be a name of Tibet left behind. Without His Holiness the Dalai Lama and so forth, we wouldn't even have Tibetan culture or Tibetan religion or language. Not even the name of it would be left behind at this point. For example, during the Cultural Revolution in Tibet, millions of people were not even nobody was allowed to hold a mala in their hands, and nobody was allowed to even recite out loud the Mani mantra and so forth. So the Buddha Dharma still did not decline. His Holiness still was there, benefiting the Buddha's teachings and spreading the Buddha's teachings, the Tibetan tradition, the Tibetan culture, and the language and so forth. So he did all of that, and he's just one person. I'm spreading the Dharma and the culture and so forth around the world. And so we can therefore really conclude that he is that Chenrezig emanation that the Buddha had given that command to in times past. And he continues to appear again and again to fulfill this command, to fulfill the Buddha's instruction. We can see it really directly. And whenever he appears, then Tara appears to assist him in his activities in one or the other way. So we can really see how the prophecy of past times still actually proves to be true in the present day. And so when we hear these stories, then trusting faith arises within us. And so that's important to understand. And aside from that, also there's a good commentary on this by Khenpo, which is also excellent. And it's also important to hear the history, because when you hear the history, then you really understand that this is what really actually happened, and that really benefits our understanding of the Dharma then. So that is why I wanted to explain a little bit about the history to my Dharma friends.
메다를 다기를 다서 잡고리 하래서 대단히 들어오나 들어오고 잡지 로지만 보여래 다다 시에가 통고요래 빠르나 여기도 들어오서 저기요래 배는 잡을 게다지 아 잡을는 좋아해 잡을는 잡을 자사들 배 가봐 보고도 들어 보모 줄까지 또 가리지 다디 보모도 게다지 가지 배 잡을는 이 강에 다까지는 제법 손지 뭐지가 다 됐지 저기서도 쪼그랬지 다다 돼도 깨닫지 마보요래 빨리 수출고 말이야라 그요래 말이야라 강나로 이제 말이야 시작을 하리 자기도 맞추잖아 서로를 하러 사면 잘 돼요 아주로 వెళ్ళేసి 말이 나를 라시바 삼바데 니게가 나서 그래 소나 봐요 말을 이제 뒤로만 채요 말이 가리 이제 좀 매도송이 매도 정말 지가요 다시 지고시여라 말이 보고 잠도 너로 상태지 뭐 지지로 말이지 대하고는 가디 해나들 포진해지고 포진기기는 지에서 몽hin기기나 제지로 말이 깨라 제시 대다가 요는 깨라 매화들이 가사간 메강 로다 가사가로 뒤도 상hin기 지고지는 뒤에 덕지 새끼 덕지에 배받아 되겠지 새끼들 좀 하고 새끼와 되고래 대다가 덕지 돈나 부모 힘기 인지 인이들이 지지로 말 고고요래시 오늘 지지로 말 부모를 좋고 즉시 가래리 지지로 말 랑들이 사지 나지 되거든요 뭐만 답네 들이 사정 게디 사야만 보러 까봐 보러 들이 소소하게 지금 대부가 다 상기고 가로 탔나 다 정게 내리 기발을 뛰나 기발을 뛰는 상기를 뭐는 없어요 제 말이지 기발을 뛰는 상기에서만 보도 없이 범을 뛰는 상기에서 직접 뭐 범에게 속라 상기를 뛰어처럼 몸을 범에게 속지네 이 새끼를 비다고도 문화됐다고 해 이 대회를 가사 가르다 돈을 주셨다나 범위를 내가 정말 계획을 요새 탐지해서 이를 피바되면 피바도 되와 그러면 제기로 말다고 해. 그래서 소라는 때라다 라는 뜻이 아마대 자자자 선대식 뭐 우리 주가 영점 먹지 바지 맞죠 그 취는 샘을 지어와요 랑 샘을 지어와요 대다वर 하거나 오다 우리 샘피가 대다वर 그것도 없지 대하고 그랬지
샤워하고 샤워하고 이 카드를 샤워하고
아 뭐마 딱 뭐가 맞을 또 뭐가 야경이지
저건 또 살아봐 저건 또 살아봐 또 살아봐
네 가보는 데 마카송지 되고라 자라송 거지 자 락자 네
뭔가 힘을 떠서
뭐가 숨어 아지로라
나고는 나만 보여 나
나만
보여
나와 갔다 와
고아도 때만 보여 공부하는
다다 하고 고만하고 코도 올라 다다가 돼도 가만히도 가야 되고 소장지
이런데 좀데
코도 러트 소소만 세나
나와도 저들 주소
너무 집었다는 소리 나와 지금 다 나와
오늘 침받다 나가서 나와를 좀 어떻게 가야
맞게 소자를 누가 이 기진 잡으면 너무 이게 또 상황이 그 지금 소자를 소자들 자좀 소자하고 오늘 이거도 다 주소
내 성이요 너무 잘 송아 내 성이요 간선은 너무 제 카바송이 요도 세나 되는 신 카바송도 되나 김바탄 송으로 와
사자 뽑아
근데 사자 동반데 나와서 라다페만 뭐 여러 와 근데 라다 지금 깨 장도 와 담못 가는 근데 이만 삼아 러트도 소자라는 거기 따도 요 뭐 이만 지금 고소 생킹도 뭐도 따도 요
여러분이 생겨 말아
고소 하고 요 단단 뒷바스 뽑았다 이거 제그 참아 송도 요 뽑았다 거
그때 난 빼다로
대표로
얘는 공수는 그거 말아 예
막 가고 돈 많이 살 받아라 다시 보여라 이거 나
예
고소 说啥就是嘛类似，送的送的。
送到进介绍进送到了的。
啲能出嚟咯。
甚至就是那么，就是一种做有的，但是你经常嘛送的有，说是你吧。
So she bestows happiness on all sentient beings. And so now, since I'm just mentioning these examples, the story of Tibet, then you might wonder, does she only appear in Tibet? You might think that. That's not the case. It's just that is all I know. I just know the story of Tibet. But she, of course, appears anywhere, not just in Tibet. Actually, not just in this world, but anywhere in the 6 realms of samsara. For example, she appears as an animal, in the body of an animal. A special animal that has great love and protects the other animals. For example, there's a story Rinpoche has personally observed. So after he was released from prison and back to the monastery, at the time when they were just rebuilding the monastery, and so Rinpoche at that time at night had to watch on guard, to make sure that no intruders would come, to protect the buildings there. And so he was there at night, and so then once at night Rinpoche went out to pee, and so there were a lot of in this area kind of like antelopes, these wild animals, these mountain animals. So Rinpoche would go out and pee, and apparently there was this antelope, this one antelope there, and when Rinpoche just started to pee, then this antelope kind of he was kind of hissing at him and like showing his fangs, and so then Rinpoche immediately actually stopped to pee and run away, but then all the other animals also ran away. And so anyways, Rinpoche felt that this is sort of like a bodhisattva warning everyone else, because in the old days when they were in 1958, when they were still having war and the Cultural Revolution, then there would always be someone on watch to see whether or not the army would come. People were sleeping, so then somebody would watch out for them and then would warn everybody when somebody was coming. And so just like that, Rinpoche saw this animal who would stand guard and watch to see if anyone was coming. And then, of course, even though Rinpoche didn't harm anyone, but the animal still didn't, of course, know that. And so, being like a bodhisattva, wanted to protect all the other animals, and immediately warned all the other animals so they could run away. So that is one. And then another story is when Rinpoche was in Germany, he said that there was this Christian church, and in a very high building there was this image. Was it Germany? Or was it Chile? It was Chile, right? Germany. Yeah. Huh? Was it Germany? Yeah. So there's this church with an image of like a female, or there must have been Mother Teresa. So there was this big image of this female, of this woman, who people said is very famous. And so Rinpoche asked who that was, and then he was told that, no, this is a woman who took care of, really cares for those who are sick and those who are in need. She protects the poor and the helpless and so on. So that is also one emanation of Tara who benefits beings. And then another time, Rinpoche remembered when he wanted to go to a church, so there is this image of Mother Mary there, and Rinpoche wanted to go and see it, and then somebody would say that this is a Western church, a Western God. Didn't you say that when you take the refuge vow, you're not supposed to pay homage to another God? But isn't that what you're doing by going there? And Rinpoche said, no, that is not what I'm doing by going there, because there's no difference between her and Tara. It's not like some other kind of God. Because what Mother Mary is, for example, is nothing else but an embodiment of love and compassion. And that is what Tara is, so there's really no difference. Actually, there is no difference between Buddhist and non-Buddhist in that sense. For example, Tara holds a lotus flower, which is also a symbol of love, because the bees come there as well. It's a symbol of love. And Mother Mary is holding the baby Jesus on her lap, which represents the same thing. The essence is love. So we can in general say that any man with compassion is really an emanation of Tenrezig, and any woman with compassion is really an emanation of Tara. And now we are just highlighting some very famous, well-known figures here, but it's not just them, it's not just those people who everyone knows, but it could be somebody that nobody knows really, anywhere. For example, someone working in a hospital or in a school. Anyone with great love and compassion who really wants to help all beings and benefit them really should be seen as a manifestation of Tara on the outer level. That's the outer aspect of Tara, bestowing happiness, this outer aspect of happiness upon sentient beings. So we should really understand all females with compassion as an emanation of Tara. And so now, Tara herself actually, aeons in the past, before she attained enlightenment, it was the time of the king Buddha Ngari, and so this Buddha then she was not enlightened yet, but she was a very special girl and with a lot of merit, and so this Buddha then said to her that I pray that in the future you take birth as in a male body and then make offerings to millions of sanghas and Buddhas and attain enlightenment finally as a man. And she refuted that. She refused, and she said that no, there's already so many men who have attained enlightenment. There's no woman who has attained enlightenment so far at that time. And so she made a firm aspiration saying that I am always and only going to appear in a form of a female, in a female body, and will benefit sentient beings in a female body throughout many lifetimes, and then will attain enlightenment as a female, and continue to benefit sentient beings in female form. So that was her aspiration, which then was accomplished. And for this reason, we should see that any female who accomplishes the benefit and happiness of sentient beings, really see her as an emanation of Tara. And that is very auspicious to mention today because it is Mother's Day. And so this unborn Dharma Dhatu, again, is Buddha nature, your own Buddha nature, the Dharmakaya. So she really is connected to your own mind. So that understanding is really very important, very beneficial for one's practice.
mentor 딱 잡대 타워들 대로 이런 보여 이제 이러면 무엇이들이 나고자들이 그러다 기지 상식가 수족지가 대상이 고향만 보여야지 대상에는 돈나 이렇게 디플로마티를 하게 바짝 쉬시나 좋아하면 봐지 그렇지 남게 디플로마랑 디플로마 괜찮아 그래서 답답 보여래 남게 디플로마티랑 가다가다 라키는 비용이 되는 라키도 비용 되는 직발에 직발 끊어지나 내 값도 다 터고 직발 탑질이 좀 그래 내 값은 직발 레전드에다가 오 다들 동네 땅이지 뭐 적방시 받대 내가 다 터고 준비 딱 공에 라베 같이 보고 그러더니 다 터고 그러더니 조금 배에다 내 값도 타서 탑질이 너무 좋고요 그랬지 그래고 새끼 된동안 그봐 장에 봐 새끼를 장단냐 봐 그래서 소소로 나를 보고 삼고서 나도 이제 좀 말해 왜나 매시나 마성으로 봐마서 이제 좀 말해 대다고 삼을 때 되지만 지삼모데 삼치가 삼지기 치르고 삼지기 치르고 되니 다한테 다지 다 거래 다한테 상하고 참말라에 삼고요래 대저래 대마시가 가시그라고 봐마서 자랑이 다고요래 나디 치잖아 되게 이와서 하고 쉬고 상태도 치라고랑 게 남게들도 막 상태도 막 시작고랑 게 남게들도 막 상니게래 되게 와요나 되게 선남 상승이 되도 막 하고 그래.
So then the fourth line is, I request her to protect me from all fear. Tara also protects us from all kinds of outer and inner kinds of fear. So on the inner level, for example, on the outer level, she protects from all kinds of outer circumstances. And on the inner level, how she protects from fear is that we have entered the Dharma, we have encountered the Dharma, and through that we understand the karma. And if we understand karma, then we are able to accept the suffering we experience now, and we are able to avoid the causes of suffering, the afflictions, for the future. So we are able to give them up. So that is how she protects on this inner level. And then her real essence is wisdom and compassion. And so these 7 verses of supplication refer more to this hidden aspect of Tara. The secret aspect of Tara, for example, it relates to the practices of Mahamudra or Dzogchen, where we are introduced to our Buddha nature. And here she remains indivisible from our Buddha nature as the Dharmakaya Great Mother. When you realize that, this ultimate nature of Tara, you realize that she's the mind that transcends birth and death and arising and decline and so on. And actually by nature is the Buddha Vajradhara. And finally, when one realizes that, one dissolves into this Dharmakaya space of non-duality. So one merges with her ultimate aspect. We won't go into so much detail of each of those words here in the 7 verses, because also Kempo will introduce you to that later on more. But it is good to hear about the history of Tara. And so regarding how she protects us from, on the outer level, for example, many of you have heard my own personal stories of how Tara had protected my own life, saved my own life 8 times. There are recordings of that, so you can listen to that. There's no need to go into much detail here today. But it's not just me, actually. There's many stories about that. For example, how people were protected from, he protected people from ferocious animals like tigers or bandits and so forth. And there's, for example, one like people then receive that nickname like Dakyab, which basically means protected from the tiger. So, but it's a name too, and so forth. So Tara appears in so many different ways. In any case, so in brief, as you mentioned actually before already, if we know how to seek protection in her, then her protection is really unfailing. We just need to be able to remember her and bring her to mind. That's the crucial point. And if you can do that, then the inner Tara within us will grant protection. Also, we mentioned before, in the context of the deity yoga, the generation stage, this importance of remembering. If you're able to remember Tara, then she really can grant protection from all kinds of fears. So here it says all fears. All here refers to temporarily and ultimately. So temporarily, she grants protection from fear by introducing us to karma. And if we understand that, then we are able to accept the suffering right now, and we are able to abandon the causes of future suffering. And on the ultimate level, she protects by assisting us then to attain a state of enlightenment. So she protects on the temporary and the ultimate level. And also the outer Tara, her outer aspect, appears in as many ways as there are sentient beings. There are limitless emanations of Tara, appearing in various forms. For example, if you have a good girlfriend, then she is Tara. Or if your mother is really good, you have a good mother, then she is also Tara. And if you see it in this way, in this pure way, your love, your compassion increases further and further. And pure perception arises. And that purifies your self-grasping. According to the secret Mantrayana, we say that all beings are really actually deities by nature. And so if you understand it in this way, you will develop a pure perception. If you don't see it this way, some people even see their own parents as an enemy. And that is really only because their self-grasping is too powerful, too strong. So this is important to see here. So recognize the inner and the secret aspect of Tara as nothing else but the love and the wisdom within yourself. So anyways, this is how we should understand the outer, inner, and the secret aspect of Tara.
똑같이 디스모는 마속 받아들이지 좀 가지고 규별 이 기사들이 말아 이해가 아마 들라들이 뭐밖에 앞치라고 그래. 다다 앞치지 앞치도마다 맨좀 요래. 맨주마지 앞치라고 그래. 토마토 졸마 앞치 주제지 맨좀들이 왜 이렇게 차요래. 이 것들이 무슨 자리에 패드나 다다 지촉 종요래. 제가 기가 차부터는 앞에서 무슨 지 다다 송해야 요래 참아래. 그래 앞치도마다 도망 무슨 이제 들이 라고 덮탑라는 것들이 아주 바람 걸 덮탑다다 또 봤으면 되는데 이렇게 요래 공을 덮탑 공을 제들이 오늘 배배들 하자들이 너까지 양사 배와 지금 동태래야지.
Jigten Sumgan, who composed the 7 verses of supplication to Tara, is of the Jigten Kagyu lineage, and Tara is also actually has a very special connection to the Jigten Kagyu lineage. Actually, even before that, she also appeared, of course, to other masters directly, like Atisha and so forth, who also composed a prayer. But to know how she is actually connected closely to the Jigten Kagyu lineage and Jigten Sumgan is that in the Jigten Kagyu lineage, she's connected to the actual family and line of Jigten Sumgan, of the Jigten Kagyu. So she appeared before Jigten Sumgan was alive. She appeared in order to not, there's this special family lineage, which is a divine lineage. In order for that family line not to be lost, she appeared also as an emanation of Tara. And so that there's many stories about Tara, Achi's life, and this particular account that I'm going to share appears in some of those stories, but not in all. And so, in any case, before she was born, before Achi was born, her father and her mother made a prayer to have a child, and they prayed for a boy. And then the girl was born. And so the father was not very happy about that, at first, but then the mother really actually preferred the girl, because actually the moment she was born, instantly, she said Tara, Dorma in Tibetan. So she could say Tara's name. And for this reason, that was her name then. That was the first name she got, was Tara. So just as a reference, Achi's full name is Achi Churgi Dorma, which means Achi Dharma Tara. But the first name of those 3 that she received was actually Tara, or Dorma. And then she grew up, and at a very young age, she had great compassion for everyone, and she taught them the Dharma, teaching them about karma and so on. So then people thought, oh, this girl teaches the Dharma. She's such a wonderful girl. And so then she received her second name, which is Chuki, which means Dharma. So then she was the Dharma Tara, or Chuki Dharma in Tibetan. And then after that, when she was an adult, she traveled to eastern Tibet to come in order to sustain this divine Gyura lineage, and then gave birth to 4 sons, who then, a few generations, 4 generations or so down, became Lord Jigten Sumgan. So basically, Lord Jigten Sumgan then was her great-great-son. So Achi was his great-grandmother. And then he founded the actual Jigten Kagyu lineage. So up until this point, this family line, this divine family line was sustained. And so then because she was Jigten Sumgan's great-grandmother, the name for great-grandmother in Tibetan is Achi. And so that is why then she was Achi Churgi Dharma, or Achi Dharma Tara. So that is how she received her 3 names. So it started with Tara, and then Dharma, and then Achi. And so then Achi, in her lifetime, when she was alive, she actually, when she passed away, she actually departed to the Pure Lands in the rainbow body, leaving no body behind. And the way of the manner of departure was on, there was a horse and there was also a little dog. And so together with the horse and the dog, she departed, and the horse and the dog actually left a footprint. So there's a horse and a dog footprint, which actually can still be seen today. And so she left through space into the Pure Land, and leaving nothing behind, just those two footprints. So she also was an actual emanation of Tara, and actually before she departed, she composed her own sadhana, which is the one that is generally used for recitation now. So writing down, composing her own sadhana, she then departed with the horse and the dog to the Pure Land. So this is why Tara has a very strong connection to the Ryugunkagyu lineage.
라고 죽게 말 마시가 생리 먹어도 죽어야 막 거기 때문에 집에 연락을 직접서 네가 저걸 찍까지 세대 죽어야만 세대 아시 사지 정도 맛있고 나그 세번에 보통들이라지 사지에 죽어야 이 죽어야 죽어야 마시라들이 생리 먹지 마 하는겨 나고 다지 너무 많이 따뜻해도 나지지 다지니 지지 데르데르 뭐도 없지만 아지니 가가리 참 데르데르 차다도 같지는 데르데르 유음바 쪽지 쪽지다 다른 좋아 고알 쪽 차요래 야 나자클라 차도 라메 도착은 메시나리 다 되고 유음바 쪽지를 안서 이제 저기서 보고서 두께게 사업을 하고 해서 코가 좋지도 하고 또는 유목을 하고 접도가 하거나 제가 강제 거야 되나 뭐 세계 이자들이 샤르는 나또디 또 쳐다봤나기래 때는 뭐든 지만의 시민들이 대 양당 양도 좀 뒤바차들이 차로라고 차서는 이 주동화가 차요래지 내가 다 갈게 거야 되나 다 죽어지 말이야. 죽어대. 라기 니메 와서 나또대는 뭐 지만 마지네 라기 시작 다시 니메 와 하거나 시작이 죽어리. 쓰는 이어 말지. 대 하거나 죽어리 이어 말이. 대 하거나 다시 니 맞아 봐. 때려 또 빠대들이 뭐 많이 봐. 라기 뭐 마지마. 제가 또 뭐 쳐다보게 되는 빼는 가을이 되나 라고 죽어 라고 세분대로 보서만 세분대로 나갔다고 해 때문에 다시 님도 없이 뒤에다 하고 되는 용도 나도 뒤로 돼 야고 제일 지금 나도 대한 배라 샤티 메도거리 이 양다양도 좀리들이 다 차로로 차고다 뒤 하고 그래서 콜라처럼 나도 어떤 세만지나 그래서 다도와를 좀 상고요 그래서 마디 셔도 그래서 나도 죽어 있자 도마도 대표나 자주 시당시 어떻게 야 끼를 뒤에 시당시 어떻게 시당시 시바도 바로 보는 거 맞지 라고 시당 하고서는 아니 소리면서 와도 라고 시당 대응 뭐지나 시당 대응 어떻게 가면들이 또 정말 과시당 포함을 쳐도 관계자 제가 하나 싸고 차야 돼요. 죽으면 이제 매스키부터 와리 내가 나도 답이 식책 내가 소화를 처음부터 봐 남부터 봐 나도 얘기하고 돼서 차야 보여래. 생 몸하고 서로되나 디고하고 서로되니 루가를 내서 투바자 내려서 드리지 봐 차이고 루가를 무슨 trouble 말이야. 나도 기마서 내마서 나도 이 시간을 들어오래 유목마디 시간 사운다음에도 사운다음에 민주나 이 시간에 마음에 들이 먹다가 내가 도와를 좀 차는 걸 대시고 해서
And then it says, through not understanding oneself as Dharmakaya, one's mind is overpowered by the kleshas. So one's mind is the Dharmakaya. but we don't understand that. When one realizes the nature of mind, one realizes that the Buddha, one's mind, the Dharmakaya, primordial awareness, all of that is one and the same. But we have not realized that. And not having realized that we ourselves are Dharmakaya, we first of all have this perception of and self. In the 37 practices it says, all suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. So first we see a self, and then that leads to seeing others. And then we fixate on the true reality, a true existence, the dualistic existence of self and others. And then from there we cling to these beliefs of the true existence of how things appear to us, and then the labels we give them. And so we firmly believe we are all separate. And due to that, we develop thoughts of attachment and aversion, 6 afflictive emotions. And the 6 afflictive emotions then manifest as the 6 realms of samsara. For example, pride manifests as the gods, and jealousy as the jealous gods, and desire, attachment as the human being, greed, stinginess as a hungry spirit, and so forth. Lord Thigden Sumgön had said, karmic ripening, or cause and effect, is the momentary appearance of one's thought, one's mind. So we need to understand how samsara is created, how the afflictive emotions create samsara. Actually, when you recognize that their true nature, then when you know the nature of the mind, then all the thoughts that arise out of this natural state of mind are just like waves on water. But if we don't realize that, and if we cling to the true existence, the reality, the truth of these thoughts and our various concept labels in the mind, then we are reinforcing our habitual, these karmic imprints, which further solidify the mind into an ice block, which then perpetuates samsara. So actually, mind itself is free of duality. That is the true nature of our mind, and that is the Dharmakaya. So even if thoughts arise, if you do not grasp at their true existence, if you don't believe in their true existence, this wisdom awareness knows that self and other are not separate. That comes later actually. So you know that I do not exist separate from others. There is no self and other that really exist. And for this reason, all of the thoughts that arise from this non-existent dualistic grasping also do not exist. So it all does not actually exist, truly. Whatever arises appears like a wave on water if you don't grasp at it. And it dissolves on its own. So when you've realized the nature of your mind, the experience is like space. You know there's no duality, no separation between self and other. First you know that, you understand that, and then you practice that, you gain an experience of that again and again. You continue to remain within that state of non-duality, and even if thoughts arise, they disappear upon arising without you grasping at them. If you keep grasping at what arises, then the mind becomes like an ice block. So that is a point we need to understand. This grasping at thoughts is the very root of wandering in samsara. If you're clinging to your beliefs in the true existence of appearances and so on, that is what causes you to wander in the 6 realms of samsara. If you don't grasp at whatever appears will dissolve on its own. And so that is, otherwise one's mind is overpowered by kleshas. For example, you get angry. A certain condition causes you to get angry. But then if your awareness does not focus on the other person, for example, the object that made you angry, but rather faces inward and looks at the essence of the anger itself. On the 37 practices, it says, unless you tame the enemy of your own hatred and so on. So you look at the essence of the anger itself. And when you see its essence, what you see is that this anger outshines all the other thoughts. It overpowers all the other thoughts. So therefore, all there is that anger and no other thought. Because anger possesses this quality of utter clarity. It is so clear that it outshines all the other thoughts. And so that is that recognition is like a blazing fire that instantly then burns away all the other thoughts. It destroys all the other thoughts. And it destroys all bondage and all clinging fixation. On the other hand, if you pursue the thought, then you will act out on it with body or speech. You accumulate karma, you get into a fight and so on, and in that way you are creating more habitual imprints, which then in turn leads to the actual manifestation of the 6 realms of samsara. On the other hand, the moment a thought arises, if you see it and you do not follow it and do not accumulate karma, then it transforms into wisdom. Actually, the 5 afflictive emotions are the seeds of the 5 wisdoms. If those seeds ripen, they ripen into the 5 wisdoms. In their unripe state, they are the 5 poisons, the afflictive emotions, temporarily leading to the manifestation of the 6 realms of samsara. And so this is an important point to be understood.
야야 딱 눈이 딱 수박을 딱 보자고 나한테 코로 뛰면서 사마도 누가 딱 고상하고 드리다 고미시야 돼 드리장도 계속 그래 세미 바지 칼로데 눈에서 나가 봐서 딱 깨다가 같이 로로 특히 기술 감수했더니 보다 싫다 조금요 말했어 좀더 소리도 안 되지 차로 그래도 마트까지 있어 그래버릴 때 저거 되지 차로 그래
And then we are in the next verse, and it says, if the meaning of Dharma is not born in one's heart, one just follows the words of conventional meaning. So the meaning of Dharma not born in one's heart. So when in the context of us cultivating immeasurable love, we always recite these prayers. We say, may all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. So what's the cause of happiness? It is love. So since that is the cause of happiness, how much love do I have? So you should look at your own mind. And first of all, identify this feeling of love. That is love. And then that love has to become boundless, great love. So again and again, over and over again, you should take a look at your mind. How much love do I have? Is it boundless? And until then, we have to look at the mind. So first, there is this wisdom that arises from hearing, listening. So first, you've heard, it was said that I have to cultivate boundless love. And now I understand that. I understand that I need to develop great love. And how can I do that? That leads to the wisdom of contemplation, reflection. So then you reflect, how can I have more love? How can I increase my love? So then you think, first of all, who is it that I love the most? So first you think about that person. For example, it's your father or your mother, or it's your friend. So you think about who it is, and then when you find that person and feel like, oh, I have a little more love for that person, then look at that kind of love. You do identify that love, but then what you also see is that it's very limited love. It's unreliable. If you would encounter a certain condition, that love would be gone. So then you realize, oh, my love is actually very small. If anything happens, it's lost, it's gone, and there's no more love. So what can we do? Therefore, it is that we have to reflect. We can't leave it with understanding. We have to develop this wisdom that comes from reflection. You have to think again and again about the kindness of others. Develop a wish to repay that kindness. So first, you identify this feeling of love. And then you recognize, I don't actually have so much of that. So then you increase it by reflecting again and again until it arises. You reflect on the kindness of others and a wish to repay that kindness. You think about the kindness of your parents or your friends and so on. So you think about it. Oh, this person was so kind to me. That love needs to be identified. And that is why we think about the kindness of our fathers and our mothers and our teachers and our countries, so that this feeling arises. Oh, these people are really so kind. I really love them. And so then love is there. And that love must increase by reflecting on it again and again. So for such a person, when you keep reflecting on it, love increases further and further. So we have to really cultivate that. We have to cultivate that by thinking of the kindness of others over and over again all the time until love really becomes great. So it's something that can arise within us. And when it arises, then, for example, for your parents, then you will be able to talk to them. You will be able to give them a gift. You will be able to endure any difficulties for them. Then you recognize that love. I really love my parents. So then that is that wisdom that comes from reflection. And then the wisdom that comes from meditation is to understand that when I die, I cannot bring even millions of dollars with me. When I die, all I can bring with me is love. That is, the wisdom realizes that. For example, we can see there are some children, when they're born, they're still infants. Upon birth already, when they're very, very tiny, some of them are very happy, they always smile, and they don't cry a lot. And that's because they bring love and compassion with them from a previous life. If you bring that with you, then naturally those children, they are more relaxed and they don't have so much fear. So when you see that, again, it reminds you, oh, that is because they bring love with them from a previous life. So it shows I can bring love with me to my next life. So this is how we need to also develop it. So you really reflect and you think that now I've made up my mind. This is all that's important. Now I'm really going to do it. I'm really going to be patient, and I'm really going to maintain my love. I'm not going to lose it. I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to fight with others, and so on. So you come to a resolution through this wisdom that arises from meditation. And then these recitations of the immeasurable love and so on do not just become lip service, but they become a reality to you. So it has to be something that really arises within you, a real feeling that arises. If you just keep reciting those words and you don't really feel anything or think about it, then the meaning of those words is not born within your heart. And when the meaning is not born within your heart, then just following the words of conventional meaning, then that leads to various biased sectarian views. For example, between lineages. Then we say that I'm a Drikung Kagyu practitioner and you're better than the Gelugpas and so on. So this is what happens when the meaning of those words does not take birth in our hearts.
Hey everybody, can you hang on for a minute? We've got a couple announcements to repeat. Everybody ready? Hello.
请大家稍后一下，我们有几个提示，请稍后。
Hi, just a couple of reminders as we break for lunch. At 1:30 today, Kempo will teach on the supplication to the seven terrors. His commentary that this teaching is based on is for sale in the book format at the sales table.
下午的法会是1点半钟开始，那堪布会讲开示动物期救度祈请文。如果大家想请他的开示书的话，在后边有售。
Kempo also has prayer wheels for sale. The ones that Rinpoche uses. Many mantras are contained in the prayer wheel, and they radiate outside with each rotation, making offerings to the Buddhas and showering a rain of love upon all beings in the six realms, thus melting their self-grasping and increasing their love, compassion, and bodhicitta. The mantra accomplishes uninterrupted offerings to the Buddha, uninterrupted purification of obscurations and sentient beings, and uninterrupted attainment of cities. These prayer wheels contain 3 million Buddha Amitabha mantras, 1 million Padmasambhava mantras, 1 million Buddha Tara mantras, and 40 million Mani mantras.
如果有哪些道友想请这个转经轮的话，我们在后边还有几个有售。那这个转经轮呢，大家可能都知道，它的作用是非常深广的。如果大家想知道细节的话，可以到马千仁波切在台湾的网站上去了解详情。但是我们现在后边有售的话，现在转经轮里边它是很小的、很微小的、很微小的心咒，一共有4类心咒。第一个是200万的阿弥陀佛心咒，然后还有100万的莲师心咒，还有100万的度母心咒，最后是还有4000万的唵嘛呢呗咪吽六字大明咒。那这个是每一个转经轮里边都有这么多心咒。那它主要作用就是很简单的来讲，在我们转的时候，那就是上供给所有的佛和佛菩萨。那么还有下施的作用，下施就是六道众生都能得到利益。如果想知道详情的话，到嘎钦仁波切台湾的中心的网站上，它有一些 teaching， 在 YouTube 上可能也能找到。谢谢。
Hilal House is a kosher facility. Please, if you bring food in, it must be vegetarian. And also, please do not enter the lounge downstairs or use the downstairs washroom or kitchen. We have not rented these spaces, and if you go in, we will incur extra charges.
今天早上已经告诉大家，再提醒一次，在楼下的那个在过堂的时候有卫生间，还有一个休息室，不要用这个地方，楼下的地方，因为我们没有租用下面的地方。如果您使用的话，那中心会有更多的这个要交租金的，所以请大家用楼上2楼的这个卫生间。如果需要休息的话，可以在会场里面休息，或到对面的学生会馆里面休息。
One of our Dharma sisters has generously made us cookies with the Tom symbol. We will put them out on the translator table during the lunch break. Please enjoy. Thank you, Sandy.
我们有一位师姐自己亲手做的 Tom 做的甜饼，甜饼上面是 Tom 是度母的心咒，所以大家在午休的时候请自己享用，会放在前台这边，在翻译的旁边，好吧？
We have some roses and candle offerings left over. The roses are slightly wilted, but Mother Tara is the perfect mother and would be thankful that we remembered her on Mother's Day. So, if you would like to take a rose or candle, no charge, and offer them to Mother Tara at the front of the stage, please go ahead. They're at the back.
我们还有一些玫瑰，不是很新鲜了，但是今天是母亲节，如果献给仁波切，他就是他的本尊就是度母嘛。那本尊他是没有这个没有二心的，所以如果大家想请的话，也没有收费了，就是大家请一个蜡烛或者是玫瑰，可以今天在中午午休的时候来献上来。
See you at 1:30.
好，午休愉快，下午1点半见。
And the sales table will close up after lunch at 1:30, just a reminder.
如果请拔本或买任何礼物的话，请在1点半钟之前。谢谢。
We'll have lunch together. Let's go. Victoria, lunch. Oh, sorry.
Son, where are you going?
Probably the same place.